So projection mapping uses digital techniques with projectors and screens to create a 3D design onto a surface. So it projects directly onto the outside surface, as you can see in these two images here. Pre-production typically involves creating a 3D model of a desired object, designing and projecting onto the object to enhance ambiance, create interactive environments to present optical illusions that draw perspective interest. Projection mapping uses designated reference planes to define a boundary around a design that can either be an image or video that is then projected with light onto an item to alter its appearance. So kind of the history of projection mapping, we've used mapping and projection for quite a long time, but it's really just kind of come into its own in the last 20 years in terms of the newer technology that it uses. It's often referred to as spatial augmented reality or video mapping. It was first documented in 1969 for the Haunted Mansion ride at Disney, and was kind of used to project onto a glass ball and create this image on the right here. Interest in the field really took off, like I said, in the last 20 years with increased technological development and the use of visual art in live performance. Today, mapping is used in display for advertising and marketing, art installations, and to enhance experience for certain events. It invites human engagement with some designs set to change based on timing, musical transition, or a sensor movement. And if curated, I believe projection mapping could be used to provide a placemaking or wayfinding around urban areas while introducing a design that could continuously be changing and evolving through quick iterative periods with a little intrusive implementation. There's some projection types that are typically used are through projectors, LED screens, or virtual reality lenses. There are many software applications to choose from that are used for the creation of these mapping techniques. However, for this tutorial, as I've said, I'm going to focus on After Effects. Some other commonly used softwares are video mapping are MadMapper, Resolume, and Millimum. So some pros are it's great for temporary installation. Projectors don't damage the existing facade of a building or object. It provides easy advertisement abilities, introduces immersive experience at a lower cost, and can use LED screens for longer use in daytime visualization. Some cons to it is with projectors and highlight areas, visibility is reduced. Lighting limitation means reduced view timing with traffic during active times during the day. Long-term installation can be quite expensive. And then mapping takes some time, and there's that, depending on the size of the work, could be need more precision and take more time. So typically the design process revolves around a selection, measuring and lighting assessment, workflow layout, design creation, modeling process, projector testing, projection installation, and then you have your final result. So to kind of walk you through the process of an After Effects to create this kind of design, I chose the University of Cincinnati outside of the DAP Blue Box building on the south entrance, located here in Cincinnati, Ohio, on the University of Cincinnati's campus. So for my design one, I picked 3 concepts to project onto the building. Each provides their own sense of dimension, scale, and spatial illusion. The 3 styles are very distinctive and different, creating a better understanding of what some possibilities of projection mapping could do in terms of place creation. And the future as a tool of creating experiential placemaking moments as a method of wayfinding design for an embodied user, which comes from integrating both physical and digital environments. So the first image we have here is the Cincinnati tunnels that go through the underground of Cincinnati. Then we have a field to kind of create a new sense of place and experiential moment. And then lastly, a creation of mapping used to define DAP, kind of just a design to show the location of DAP and create a wayfinding moment. So at the beginning of After Effects, what we're going to do is start out by creating a new composition. So up here, you can go to the Composition tab and create a new composition. We're going to call this Comp 1. So then you also want to check and make sure that the dimensions of your screen match these right here to make sure that you're not projecting outside of your zone or not fully projecting and cutting off your design. So make sure that's correct. And then we're going to hit OK. And then from there, what we're going to create first is a new, solid. So we're going to create the screen that you're actually going to see on the background. And we're going to focus on creating the UC placemaking first. So you can hit new and solid. You can also do that up here as well when you go to layer new. So we're going to make this, we're going to do background. Let's see, we're actually needing this. And leave it as this red. Actually, I'm going to make this a little bit darker red. Okay. So then essentially now we have our first background image. I'm actually going to also import the image of the building so that I can start to show you how that also works. I'm going to take this, move this image to the bottom here because we're not going to be editing this image at all. And then we're going to go ahead and lock it. And then this is very similar to Photoshop and other Adobe programs. So with that, you can use this eye tool to turn off and on. Seen here. So we're actually going to take this. Actually, I'm going to rescale this real quick. Okay. Go ahead and lock that. And then from there, one of the biggest tools you're going to be using to create kind of your screen here is the corner mapping method. So what we're going to do here is select this and we're going to go to effects and hit corner pin. And that's right here. Double click on that. And what that'll do is pop up these boxes so then I can actually drag and start to mold to the outer edges of my building and actually match those. Sure, I'm going to match up where I believe that moment is there. And this one up here. Okay. So after that, what we're going to actually do is take this and create a fill layer. You can right down here and hit fill again. So this first layer, I'm going to start off at 0. We have a 30-second video here. So start off at 0, and the color currently is this red. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to hit this little timer. And what that is it's going to create a keyframe. So what that means is at the beginning of this video, it's going to start off red. And then what I'm going to do is move this keyframe to the end of my video, take this color, and I'm actually going to change it, and we're going to make it blue now. But I want it to kind of match the blue in the background. So we're going to go a little bit lighter with it. Go. The end of the video. So it kind of fades into the existing building. Okay. And then we're also hit click keyframe again, so it knows that this is the end of the keyframe as well. I can do that red. Okay. So you can see that transitional color happening now. And then right at the middle here, we're going to actually change it to this yellow. Some contrast here. All right, and as you can see, that'll change your thing. So it's going to go from red to yellow to that blue. And then it'll dissipate at the end. So from there, we're going to add text as well to this image. What we're going to do is going to hit text. Go ahead and drop that on here. We're going to do depth. Go ahead and make some title block here. then over here, it's very similar, as I said, to Adobe, so you can change the makeup of this. So I'm actually okay with all of this underneath, but I want to change my depth to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just like that. And then I'm also, so it kind of aligns with the diagram, or I'm going to twist it. So from here, you can see it made a new layer with my text. So I'm going to lock that layer. And then I'm going to go back to this design, and I'm actually going to do, from that, we're going to actually mask the background out. So we're going to cut out this hole that exists there. So what you can go from there. So what I'm going to do is pull this down, and we're going to go to transform. We're going to change the opacity to 80 so I can actually start to see what that's going to start to look like. And from there, we're going to go up to here. And then you're going to go up to layer, and we're going to hit pre-compose. And what that's going to do is going to lock my layer. It's going to, we're going to move all attributes to this new layer. And then this will allow me to crop out the areas that I don't want. So then we're going to go ahead and use the pen tool and box this out. And as you can see now that I've connected all my edges, it's actually creating a space within and changing so that just inside of my square is where we're seeing the background. So what we're going to do is actually change that on this mask layers where this is located at. Instead of add, we're going to change this to now subtract. And as you can see now that that layer is now subtracted, and then we're going to go ahead and drop in my map that I had as well. And we're going to do the same thing with this on this other wall. We're going to take it and we're going to corner pin it. And pretty much you're just going to be constantly going to the effects to create this design. I'll line all of this up. Sure it looks realistic. Okay, so essentially this is what we have so far, and then you can always go to this point and you can actually click on your playhead here and drag it along. So you're going to see how those colors change throughout the design, and it's going to fade to that blue. And you can just kind of see how it all lays out very nicely as on the side. So then we're going to go back to the mapping, and then what we're going to do is go to fade. So then when you type in fade, you can start to see the behaviors that can be associated with this. So what we're going to actually have is we're going to have fade in for this layer. And right here, as you can see, you can change the color of how it fades, the blending mode. So we're actually going to change this color. I'm going to actually change it to a gray so it matches the background and fades in really nicely. So from there, you can test on the player head here. You can see how it fades in perfectly, really, really nicely, comes in really, really crisp. And that sort of association happens. So here again, it's very similar to the workflows of other Adobe things. So you have your multiply screen, the lighting, your burns and those kinds of things as well that you can change in this. And then we're also going to add in with that the fade out. And you can see it does the same exact thing, but fades it out instead now. And then from here, we want to click on our DAP. And for my design, I wanted the DAP to kind of explode off the screen as everything fades. So then we're going to do a zoom in effect for this. Zoom forward. And what that'll do is, you can see it kind of explodes it outward. So then at any time, if you go too far, you can always go back and undo apply animation. So that's going to stop the animation. What I am going to do is actually put this like this layer. So then right around here is where you're going to see it explodes like that and such, just as everything disappears. And then lastly, what I'm going to show with this image is how you do your background. So we're actually going to go to shatter. And what this is going to do, as you can see, there's like a bricklaying method that is currently in place. So what we're going to do is actually change this. And we're going to click on render. And then you have all your elements here. So you have shape, pattern bricks, you have all these different kinds of things. You can do gradients, textures, very, very cool stuff, materials if you'd like as well. But for this, we're going to just change this to these octagons and squares. That pattern. So as you can see, this pattern has now changed to be these octagons and squares that'll shatter out. So then with that, once I have the shatter pattern created, what I'm actually going to do is take it and we're going to, again, corner pin it. Once you corner pin it, it'll actually shatter onto the screen there and we'll be able to see it shatter as such. So with that, I'm going to turn off these layers and I'm going to show you the next design. So following this design, we're going to keep on this last image so you can see the on off and understand kind of where our site is. And we're going to drop in the field design. So you can see it's a field and it actually changes and kind of has a flow to it as it goes. So what we're going to do is the same thing. We're going to be corner pinning this image. When selecting this design, I really tried to find something that was rasterized really well and had really nice graphics that looked real, so that the design made sense and actually fit and seemed like it was like you were actually within the elements and it didn't just seem like this cartoon image being projected onto the site. So again, corner pinning, and then from there, again, we're going to go to layer, make sure it's selected. Make sure you select all attributes again. And then we're going to go ahead and use our pen tool. Down, change the opacity so you can actually see behind it. And as you can see, it's changed that masking to be inside. So we're gonna have to go and we're gonna go ahead and subtract. What you can also see though too is as we do this, you can see that this is gonna lighten the image, we have darkening the image. But as I said, we're gonna do subtract so that you can actually see it here. And then if ever you are outside your boundaries or something's just not lining up right, you can actually go ahead and drag these as well. And you've developed them. Go ahead and drag those just real quick to make sure that they line up correctly. And then if I'm overcutting it, what I can easily do is just this as well. So we can just cut that off like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring in the same image again. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's all good to go, then lock it. Then we go ahead and bring in the same image. So then because I want it to actually be the opposite of this and mirror this image, we're going to go ahead and go to transform. And then you can flip it horizontally so it actually will match up and I can have my trees kind of match up in the center here. And then right again, like I said, we're going to go ahead and corner pin all that. You see those green dots to the corner pinning. And if you actually select outside of that, it's going to take away that corner pin moment that you need. Drag it all to line up. It might take a couple times to kind of get it adjusted to where you like it and feel that it's makes sense and feels like it's actually within the space. Once it's there, and because this is an already active video that I'm not editing, as you can see, it makes a really nice element of like the grass flowing away from the center. It becomes this really realistic moment to where you feel like you're in the space. And this video actually had some audio with it. I put my own audio with. What you can do is once you've edited all this, you can actually drop the music as well. So if I go to if you have any sound or anything, you can just drop it. As you can see here, here's where the audio is located at. So I'd be able to drop onto the audio as well. So you can have the different levels and then kind of have that background noise that happens. So here's the decibels and I can change that to whatever I'd like it to be. As you can see, everything that we've done this entire time too will always show up underneath in your compositions down here below. I can also turn off the audio here as well. So lastly, for my last composition that I had, I focused on the subway system here in Cincinnati that is currently no longer in use for a historical contents for Cincinnati and essentially creating again that placemaking element. So as you can see, we have it, and what I'm going to actually do is essentially split this down the center. So again, everything is very user friendly. So here I can also use this corner pin again. So I'm going to actually use it in this way too as well for how I would corner pin it to the background. And line everything up to where I think it starts to look very realistic. Again, I'm going to go down here, hit transform. I'm going to lighten up that opacity so I can really see, because it's a little bit darker, we're going to actually go to like 50. Keep kind of editing that till it aligns really nicely with the wall on the outside there. Okay. And then for this one, because of kind of the weird shape in the excess that happens outside of it, I'm going to use more of the pen tool to kind of cut more of this off on the edges. First, we're going to go ahead and do that. So first, you're going to go again, like I said, to layer. We're going to go to recompose. Make sure all the attributes are in the new composition. I'm going to go ahead and use that pen tool. I'm going to do this is actually trim this out like this. We're actually just going to trim out all of this excess that isn't needed. Again, as you can see, it's going to cut it out, but we're going to mask. And we're going to do subtract instead. It's going to remove all that extra that we don't quite need. And then again, I'm going to actually reuse my pen tool to actually remove this up here. And as you can see, it actually changes it to a different color. I can also change the masking colors to any color that I would like. So if I want it to be green, I can do green. Whatever makes it easier for me to understand how the masking is working and what elements it's located under. Once I've done that, we're going to go ahead and out of this. We also have this wonderful pan tool. So if I get really close to zoomed in, I can actually pan across the page as well. You're going to see where there's weird areas. So then what I can see with this is like I can go ahead and pull this down just like that, which is really, really nice. So then we're going to go ahead and pull in my subway again. And then again, I'm going to go ahead and flip this and mirror it so that it's actually so that I can actually use the site itself a little bit easier because this side is a little bit wonky. And I want the image to look realistic along the background. So then we're going to go ahead and corner pin. The background image here. Because this image is a little bit messier and doesn't quite align as nicely as the other ones, it takes a little bit more work to get it to look nicer and match up a little bit better. We're going to want it to match up just like that. And down. Seems like you're actually walking into the tunnel. Then once again, like I said, we're going to go make sure it's selected, go to layer, and then pre-compose. Again, make sure all attributes together. And once I do this, you're going to actually see over here that the effects and transform are all going to become one element real quick. And it'll just all be under the transform then again, because you created a new layer essentially that has all the attributes that you originally wanted. So then again, we're going to go ahead and select my pen tool here. And we're going to trim off this top area, essentially all of this, which is we're just boxing off this bottom edge here. Fantastic. Correct. So then we have our two sides to our site. We're going to lock it, and as you can see, here's what that'll look like, and you can see they're connected right in the center there. I'm going to change that opacity. Starts to match the other one. The really big focus too is making sure that the backgrounds and foregrounds complement each other really well, so that it doesn't seem so wonky. It makes sense. It doesn't feel like the whole image is out of place. So again, what you're going to see is that element on the screen, and then we also will do the fade out for each and every one of these that I showed you at the beginning, just so that everything fades in really nicely, fades out very nicely, and then also has that nice overall understanding of what you're looking at. So lastly, after the entire design is done, and you've created all your functions, you've created everything that you want to, you've mapped everything out, you've added in your audio, what you're going to do is you're going to go to composition, and we're going to go to add to render queue. And then from there, as you can see, you have your render settings. You can change everything here. So your output, whether you want that to be in movie form, if you want that to be in MP4 form, but you're going to export that into whatever layer you want. But for at first to do that and change that setting, you're going to go to the high quality and make sure everything looks correct. And then we're actually going to change this to lossless. And then from there, as you can see, we can change it from an AVI. And you can change it to also multiple settings after that. And then once you're done and have everything set up how you like, you'll hit render, and then it will render and create your video for you and export it as however you set your output to. So I hope this video was very helpful in a nice look into Adobe After Effects and how it can be used for projection mapping and potentially as a placemaking rendering software as well. Thank you so much.